Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are we are thrilled to welcome Dawn Brolin, the designated motivator for accounting professionals to Bookkeepers on Fire. So get
Woohoo! We scored,
ready.
man. We scored.
Yep. Get ready for your game-changing tips, expert insights, and motivation for a fun ride today. All right, take it away, Deb.
All right. Well, great. Well, so excited to have you, Dawn. I mean, I remember the very first time I ever met you. Actually, I was in a class. You came to Orlando and you were teaching QuickBooks. This was in the desktop days, and you were on that stage. You're making us all laugh and educating us at the same time. And they said, well, and Intuit had held a contest where you could put in a video of something. And if they picked you, well, anyway, my video had been picked and you played it during the class. And I raised my hand, I go, that's my video. And of course, you pointed me out. It didn't disrupt your flow at any. So I went up to you, and that's how the very first time we met, I said, boy, this girl's something. But I remember you were working at a CPA firm at that time. Tell us about that.
Oh, Lord help us all. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me, of course. You two are nuts and I love it. I blend right in with the two of you crazies. Yeah, I was with a CPA firm, and they weren't really thrilled that I was out on the road, or whether it was teaching QuickBooks to people. Oh, Angela. Oh God, I love her. So or I was at the Chamber of Commerce doing free lunch and learns or whatever I was doing.
Which was bringing them more business, right? They were getting more business.
That was my job. Yeah. I was the marketer, and boy, I did a great job. The problem was that people would always call asking for me.
Right.
And I was, so there was this, I believe, I don't, I've never spoken to them since I left that building, but, I think there was some kind of a jealousy, and I was like, well, dude, how about you go run around and with your own vehicle and do all this free stuff. And so, it ended up, long story short, ended up leaving there it was April 1st, actually, April Fool's Day. And, but it wasn't funny. You know what I mean? So I left there, and now, in 2024, our firm, there's only 3 of us, 2 people that do work. One, the admin, did over $700,000 last year.
Amazing.
So,
amazing.
That's.
And you didn't have your CPA back then. You had got your CPA after.
That's right.
When you were teaching, you didn't have it, and you were talking about getting it.
Yep. I started taking that exam in 2010, passed it into March of 2011. And then I had to actually, funny you asked that, Deb, because I had to fight for my license, because they had to do my experience information.
Right.
And the Connecticut State Board interviewed one of my former partners, and she talked a bunch of crap about me. And so it took me an extra 8 months to get my license.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, why? I don't understand that mindset. Why can't we all lift each other up?
They're not lifter uppers. They're putting it down.
They're not lifter uppers. They're putter downers.
Putter downers.
Well, I'm sorry you had to experience that, but here you are, and you've really gone into forensic accounting. How did that come about?
So, that year that spring that I left that firm, I was recruited. Intuit actually sent me the lead to do an IRS case with the IRS, on their side. So they didn't know QuickBooks. They didn't understand, it was the desktop back then, and they didn't understand how it worked and operated, how could they prove, and it was actually an accountant. The case was against an accountant.
Oh.
And he claimed that the reports weren't done correctly. Well, I was able to prove that he intentionally set up an owner's investment account, because back then, in the version that he was using, it didn't automatically set up this one particular account. So that was the intent I could prove. Then when he was putting deposits into that owner investment equity account, wasn't showing up as income. So I could prove that he had to, first of all, intentionally put the entry in. He had to intentionally create the account that ended up being on the balance sheet,
right?
Not the P&L. And I was able to. I coached the IRS.
So you were working for the IRS. You weren't even working for. Oh, wow! Ooh.
I was a subcontractor for the IRS, and so we were able to prove that he intentionally underreported his own income. Never mind the hundreds of pizza shops that he did the accounting for and the taxes for. So,
He did the same thing for the pizza shops?
well, we didn't even have to go that far. We just
Amazing.
stuck with his own books. And so your question was, how did I get into forensics? Well, that was a lot of a good introduction to what forensics are really about and how to prove intent and all those types of things. And so I just got really intrigued by that. And so a couple of years later, I ended up going to Washington, D.C., sitting in the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. They did it live. I think they do it live now again. And you just sit for the day, learn all this stuff, take a test. And you did it for 4 days in a row. And it was pretty awesome.
What's
was
the biggest thing you learned? I mean, what's the biggest tip you can give us about that?
So I think from that whole, well, let me tell you this one thing. Let me give you a tip. If you know accounting, you can pass that exam,
Okay.
because a lot of people in the class were like bankers, because they have to have bankers. They have people that have to be certified in fraud. But there were 2 of the days were just about accounting. So I didn't even really need to pay attention. But these bankers couldn't pass the test because they're the opposite of accounting, I call
Right,
it.
their debits are our credits and vice versa.
Yeah. So, as far as that, all the forensics go, it's taught me a lot about really paying attention to reports and really paying attention to details, obviously, because the devil's in the details. But I found that it made me a better accountant. Just became more aware, and it really fueled my fire for people who steal from other people.
I hate that.
And I just had a call yesterday, a referral from an accountant, for a fraud case. They wanted a tax attorney and a forensic. And I'm like, well, I'm a certified fraud examiner. It's the same thing.
Right.
So I'll be taking, it's a case out of Texas that I'll be
So
taking
what
on.
kind of thing are they looking for? Who are your clients, that kind of people that call you?
Usually it's other accountants, honestly.
What do they find in the books they're looking at, in someone's why would they pick up the phone and call you with who are
Yeah.
the book? Yeah, I don't get it.
Usually it's usually it's somebody that they're not doing the books for. They're either the tax accountant, or, they're not typically bookkeepers unless the bookkeeper is contacted by a client saying, I think my bookkeeper is stealing. They call an accountant. That person's like, well, I can take over your books, but I don't know how to do an investigation, because you have to be able to write an expert witness report. You have to be able to testify in court, and that kind of stuff, that's my favorite part.
Oh, really? You have to
Yeah, really.
what do you wear?
Performance.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I learned in court, you don't have to sit. On TV, if somebody's standing up, it's because they're yelling at someone. But in the witness box, you can stand up. Like, so they told me that, the IRS told me that after the first session that I went through, the first section of questioning, and they're like, "Oh, you can stand up." I'm like, "I can?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not ever sitting again." And so I'm up here because I created a presentation. I had a PowerPoint, and I looked at the jurors, and I'm like, "You know what I'm saying? Like, look at this." And I would, like, somebody would nod their head. I'm like, "You know what I'm talking about?" And, like, I would, like, kind of interact with them, which is you can totally do that.
Cool.
And so
I might have to go to Washington and take that test. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's super fun.
I mean, I keep hearing the Law and Order boom boom behind me.
It's so fun. And the what are they called? The cops that sit in the, I forget what you call them. They just sit in the courtroom to make sure there's no issues.
Oh, the bailiffs?
Yeah, that's it.
Like Rusty, like Judge Judy.
Like Judge Judy. So I would show up to court in the morning, and they were like, we're fighting over who gets to sit in on your presentation today. Like, they were all into it. It was so funny.
Cool. What's the most interesting fraud case you ever did? Or what are some of the things people try to do?
Oh, I have my favorite one. It's an easy one to say my favorite one. It was a case out of San Francisco. And I can't remember who referred it to me, but it was somebody in our community. And they're like, you should work with Dawn Brolin. You got to work with her. So I end up with what do you call it? The public attorney's office. So it's a guy apparently couldn't afford an attorney. Well, it was a murder over inventory.
A murder
Murder.
over. Now, I have to tell you, there are some people I would like to murder over inventory.
Exactly.
I mean, that might be, what's that called when, justifiable homicide?
I know. We haven't got it on recording, so you're
Yeah,
we're not even gonna kill anyone, but we're gonna send you to jail anyway.
yeah.
But no, it's crazy because it was a salesman and the business owner, and they did medical equipment for this particular part for a wheelchair. Can't remember exactly what it was. Probably to hang a bag on. Who knows? Anyway, it was this little add-on to a wheelchair. Well, the owner paid this guy off of commissions for sales, whatever you were selling. And so it was all based on, and actually I think it was based on profits. It might have been on profits. So what the salesman, sold a whole bunch of stuff expecting like a $10,000 or $15,000 commission check for the month of August in this particular year. And the business owner went in or we couldn't prove exactly who did it. It wasn't the salesman. Went in and adjusted inventory to inflate cost of goods sold. So the profits were dramatically reduced because of the way they altered inventory. And so they wanted me to be able to explain how adjusting inventory. So all they gave me, this was so awesome. All they gave was a QBO. All they gave me was an audit trail for a specific period of time in a PDF. So there was I couldn't click on anything. I couldn't get into, I was not into QuickBooks. I was only given this audit report. And I'm like, I bet I can make something out of this. And so I analyzed it. And over the course of a year and a half, they did 3 adjustments to inventory. The first one had like 1 transaction, 1 adjustment. The other one had just 1 simple adjustment. And there was random times. It was never consistent. So I wrote this whole thing about how do people typically adjust inventory. Well, they've got a physical inventory. They go in, they do an adjustment. Either they're doing it monthly, annually, but it's not random typically.
Right.
But if it's random just a couple times, all right, maybe there was just an issue with a particular item. Not a big deal. Well, this one time they adjusted the inventory, there were like 30 something adjustments. So I explained how inventory works and how how does cost of goods sold work and how this all plays out and the financial impact of adjusting the inventory. So the guy was convicted. So what happened?
The owner was convicted.
No, he got killed. So what happened was, so he reduced the inventory, he adjusted the inventory. There was not enough money to pay this guy. So the salesman stole inventory to sell so he could make money. Well, the business owner got pretty ticked off at that. So then they met. They met up, and the sales guy, I believe he tased the business owner and then strangled him to death.
Ugh.
Over inventory. So my job
because the guy wanted to cheat him.
Because the business owner wanted to cheat the sales guy. So my whole job was to minimize the jail time for this guy. Mr. Kim was his name. And Mr. Kim got less jail time because of Dawn Brolin's report. Well, I never got to go testify, which upset me. And that's how most happens. So most of the time it's negotiated out of court and all this other stuff. So it's not often that I get to testify. So, but Mr. Kim, so the the defending attorney emailed me and said, Mr. Kim wanted me to tell you he is so thankful for your report and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah.
So he sends you a Christmas card every year now?
No, I've never gotten a call from the jail. Will you accept the call?
Please accept the collect call from San Quentin.
Yeah.
I 100% would answer. I would say, yes, 100%. Who is it? Which one of you two is calling me to get you out of jail? I'm thinking.
I tell you, I love I love reading how bookkeepers, accountants manipulate books to cheat. The bookkeeper steals and usually it's internal controls, nobody's watching, that kind of thing. And and I always tell a lot of times when I'm doing sales calls, and we're all in the sales business,
Yep.
they'll say, "Well, I'm watching it myself." I go, the thing is, people don't steal $1 million all at once.
No,
They
they
steal
don't.
$1 million $1 at a time,
Yep.
Mhm.
and
It's
and
crazy.
yeah, I mean, all the time you see these bookkeepers. How did they not know? Well, because it's $10 here, $5 there, and they get away with it.
Duplicate
So well,
Verizon
that's really
bills.
exciting. So, is that your most favorite thing to do? Is the
Yeah.
forensic work?
Well, I love doing the forensic work, but I also really love, and it's in the little thingy that's scrolling by here, that I love IRS resolution.
Yep.
Ah,
Right, Donna? Because Donna, it's
Yep.
all about, again, it's all about, can you outsmart the other person? That's all it is.
so
Yep.
explain what IRS resolution is.
Yeah, so IRS resolution essentially is anytime anybody has an issue of any kind with the IRS that they can't resolve on their own, they're going to go find somebody, right? Yeah, Kim, you know it, the rolling penny. So I think, people get a notice and maybe they need to get in a payment plan, or I love the non-filers. I get a lot of those guys who have never filed or haven't filed in 15 years or whatever, and they finally get the notice, they get caught. Now it's like now it's time to pull out that checkbook. So for those of you who don't file, right? Those of you who don't file your tax return or know people who haven't filed their tax return, what I'm hoping they're doing is they're saving that tax money that they should have been paying and put it into an account, because that's what you're going to send to me, because it's expensive. It's expensive, right? So and that's
Is
why
it
we need the
expensive for your
bookkeepers.
bill or expensive for the tax they're going to wind
For
up paying?
me, just for me. Never mind the tax they're going to pay.
Get the tax.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, especially for business owners, and I need the bookkeepers, get the books in order for me, that, and I really rely on bookkeepers for that. And I just go in and I find out, my favorite part about it is when I get a newbie, when I get a newbie IRS person wet behind the ears, and now it's go time. And my whole goal is to outsmart them, and it's not that hard. So it's all about knowing and understanding people. Have you ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Who hasn't? Dale Carnegie.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
Read it again.
read it again. That's what it's all about. And, I think that we all have to have that kind of knowledge. You've got to know how to work with people. That's what all we do is work with people, right?
Isn't that the truth? I mean, as good as accountants that we should be, we are.
Mhm.
You have the people skills are more like twice as important.
Yep, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know. In fact, there was a post on Facebook yesterday. Somebody posted a rant about how they don't like their clients calling them. They're not using the portal. They're not doing all the technology. And I'm thinking to myself, why? I mean, call me up. How do you feel about that, Dawn?
Yeah, well, so I have Tracy on my team. Donna knows Tracy. Tracy on my team, she is the people person. She's the front line of powerful accounting. So we weren't always like this, you guys, because until we moved to subscription pricing, I was that person ranting. I don't have time. I didn't have time back then. But because we moved to subscription pricing, we lowered our number of clients. We still work with people on tax, but for business clients, we try to work as much as we can with them year round. I've
Right.
already done 6 business returns, or I mean, like I just wait for Nicole to go, okay, next one's ready. Like I'm ready. I'm like,
Because you
because
do
we
their books all year long.
and we know exactly what's the ins and outs. We already know that they sold a van, traded it in for another one. We already have those adjustments, all the, gain and loss on the sale of the asset.
Right.
We do that all throughout the year.
Right.
But this is only 2 years old for me. 2 years
Oh, really?
old. Yeah, we started subscription pricing 2 years ago
So you were charging by the hour before?
by the hour, and taxes we've always done and still do by the form. It's just
Oh,
by the
really? By the form?
Yep. But if they're in our subscription pricing, the returns are all included. So we just, it's because really the tax return is an afterthought for the first time in my life. It's like, now I just got to throw it in there. We've done all the work throughout the year to make sure that when it's go time, and that's why, for us, January isn't like, I think a lot of people,
I know.
right? January is usually just hell on earth for people because 1099s and we need a W-9 from this person and this. We do that all year round.
All year long. People don't get it. to me, the tax return is just a required report you have to
Exactly.
file all year long.
Mhm.
And then we start over in January.
Yep.
But if you're up now, do you exclusively use QBO? Are you still on desktop? What's your deal?
We still have a couple people on desktop. I mean, I'm the desktop lover. I had my heels in like dug in against QBO for as long as I could possibly stand it. And now it's like, can you just be in QBO?
It's
Like,
the truth.
like I mean, we host all the QuickBooks. Like anybody that's on desktop, it's hosted. But we've moved just about everybody. We have this one client that she's got 5 entities and she's on desktop, and it's like we can't get in touch with her half the time. Never mind try to get her to use a new tool. Like
Right.
she would go crazy. Eventually she'll have to, but it's just easier. It's just easier.
It's so much easier, and don't you find you can stay on top of things better?
Yeah.
I find like with desktop, I'm facing more hardware issues, logins. I know I have one client still on desktop, and I go there once a month. I still go there.
Yeah.
And they have 3 licenses. So when I show up, one person has to get off.
Get out. Yeah.
So for one day when I'm there, one of the accounting staff is not working.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, go to QBO.
Yeah.
Well, all the excuses why, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Okay, well, you're going to have to eventually. So,
because Donna, I know Donna, all of your clients are QBO.
Donna never used desktop.
I've never used desktop, so it's painful sometimes when people ask me about desktop, but yeah, I've never used desktop.
Wow.
It's all QBO. I started out and I said in the beginning when I started, which was like almost 11 years ago now, I said, this is the future. I'm not going to go backwards. Plus, I didn't want to deal with servers and all that stuff and files that can be corrupted easily. I'm like, well, no, the future is online. Let's just go there.
Yeah,
and start out that way.
I know
It's always
people
been that
complain
way.
about the subscription cost of QuickBooks. And I think, first off, there's 5 users in Plus. I'd have to buy 5 licenses of desktop. Then I'm going to have a server to host it. So now there's that additional cost.
Yep.
I mean, so it's actually less money.
Yeah.
If you're looking at that thing. And, I just get, it just blows my mind. I'm not in the business to save clients money on the brains of their business.
No.
I mean, if you can't afford $100 a month.
Yeah, seriously.
Then really, why are you in business? So when I see I want to save my client money. So I'm thinking about putting them on Ledger. What?
Oh,
the
worst. That's the worst.
I mean, Ledger works for what it's for.
Yeah.
But to save them $89, I'm thinking, no, you are missing the point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I get a little annoyed. I had a client call me up the other day. He wanted to drop down to essentials. And I said, oh, that's fine. But my fee's going to now go up because all these other things that Plus could do, I'm now going to have to do by hand.
Unreal.
And maybe I'll keep it at essential, Plus. Okay. I had one girl, she used inventory and she wanted to save the $30.
Oh, God.
And she moved to us, and I walked down, went, what? I mean, that was a nightmare. But anyway, so you use, so if a new client calls up and you put them on QBO now?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, what made the switch in your head that you said, okay, now I'm moving to QBO? What made you do the switch instead of sticking them on desktop?
I think it was just the convenience of being able to add my team. So if Nicole gets added, she gets to see the books if she's involved, which sometimes she's not. A lot of times people have their own bookkeepers or they do their own books and they do a good job. And we just ask them to invite us to their account, and our process is pretty simple. Like if you're going to come to us and regardless if you have a bookkeeper or not, you're going to invite us to QBO and you're going to upload prior year tax returns. That's like step 1. Like I'm not getting on the phone with you till I see all that.
Right.
Because I don't even know if I want you yet. Like, and that's what I think is a really big difference. I don't know how you guys operate, but just because they call us doesn't mean they're going to be clients. Like print
it, sister. We call it the diagnostic tool. How do I know? I mean, I was thinking, if you call the doctor up and you have a sore throat, he's not going to schedule surgery until he examines you. You might just scream too loud at the rock concert last night and you need a lozenge. You need to diagnose the problem. I take my car, my car's making a funny sound. I need it fixed. He needs to diagnose my car. Why are we not doing that?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a client you don't want.
Yeah. And I don't mind. I'll take 5-10 minutes, usually take sometimes 15, look at the books. I always compare previous year to the previous year to the tax return, and I'm doing all that, which is one of my big beefs about Schedule Cs. I
No
wish they made
balance
it
sheet.
to a
Yep.
balance sheet, and
Yeah.
I because most, not all, but most Schedule Cs balance sheets are a wreck.
Wreck.
Because who
Mhm.
cares? The
I
only thing I
know.
need to know are assets. So do
I
they add
know.
any assets? Otherwise, who cares?
I know we got one in yesterday. Hal did the tax return, and the distributions were in the millions.
Oh,
And
Oh
I,
god.
and I said, because he doesn't close out the distributions to retained earnings every year.
yeah.
You know, he doesn't know
Mhm.
accounting. So you really need, he goes, he's not paying me for that. But Pat, everything makes sense. I see, so anyway, it's like, they don't want to pay for that. Okay, not getting it,
Yep. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
wish they had balance sheet, but what are you
I
gonna
like,
do?
balance sheet's my favorite.
Oh yeah, it's the health of the business is in the balance sheet. It's not. I mean, profit and loss is
Mhm.
is what it is, but it's all about that balance sheet, and that's one of the things. Like I had to teach myself. I mean, I started out as a bookkeeper in 1999, and I did bookkeeping. I didn't do any tax. I brought my tax to a CPA, a local CPA, who ended up being one of my partners, and
Yeah.
never right. So
Yeah. Yeah. Being in a partnership is worse than being married.
it's awful. You don't even get anything out of it.
I
You know
know.
what I mean? There's no kissing involved or any of that stuff.
I
You just totally just you're screwed. That's all you are.
Yeah.
So, but that's just my opinion, and have not had any
I agree
great.
with that opinion.
I've just not had a great experience with partners when it comes to like I have two tax partners, but it's only to share the cost of the software.
What software
But
do you use for tax?
we use Lacert.
Okay.
I love
Which
it.
is the most expensive one.
It is. It's the Cadillac, and I love it. I've used Pro Series before. I liked it. Um, But yeah, it's just like just looking at stuff and it's like, oh man. So, being the bookkeeper, I had to teach myself for whatever reason, I should look at the reports after I enter transactions.
Right.
Does that sound simple? It does, but it's
Right.
unless somebody tells you, like I don't know, I'm just a bookkeeper. I'm just putting transactions in this thing.
Right.
And then pulling a P&L and a balance sheet after so you can see, oh, I reversed that entry or whatever.
Right. It's amazing to me. A lot of times people will say, I see that they go, I don't want to use the bank feeds because I want to make sure I want to enter every transaction so I know it's correct.
Okay,
And I think,
correct.
okay,
Okay.
so you put on the bank feeds and 1,000 transaction goes in. Now you review the reports and you realize, oh, those two are incorrect. Let me fix those two.
Yeah.
That takes how long? So if
Yeah.
you review the reports of hand entering oh my, data entry is going away. The AI is taking care of that, which
Oh,
now
yeah.
frees us up to be able to talk to the customer about what's exactly going on in their practice or their business,
Yeah.
which is
Absolutely.
valuable to them. No one
And
does
that's
that for them.
and that's never going to be replaced. That's not
No.
you're never
Mhm.
going to replace that. I mean, even if you said, okay, people are like, well, what's going to happen is AI is going to read a I will definitely answer that question. It'll read a balance sheet and tell you all about the balance sheet, and then it's going to read a P&L for the client and spit out this thing to them, and you're not going to. That's not happening. Regardless of what they're. First of all, if it's a report about all the information, they're not reading it. We already know that. Somebody has to interpret that information and provide
Mhm.
it to them. They're still not going to understand it just because AI creates it. It's
Correct.
not going to be a thing. But I've got to. Can you clarify what the partnership looks like? So I have two tax partners, and we have a CPA firm called Anderson, Brolin, and Koba, CPAs LLC. And so each of us, so we pay for the E&O insurance together. And the E&O insurance not only lists Anderson, Brolin, and Koba, but it also states Powerful Accounting Inc., Keith Anderson, Lisa Koba. So it says they have their S corporations too. So we're all S corps in there, and we're all put on the E&O insurance, and then we pay for Lacert together. We pay for Smart Vault together because we all use Smart Vault together, and we also share the cost of Visory, which is our hosting solution that we use for all things.
What is that one? Can you put that? How do you? What's
Yeah,
that one?
it's called Visory, but it used to be Swissnet.
Visory.
Yeah, Visory / Swissnet.
Okay.
That's what
Oh.
it used to be. Am I doing that right? No, that's a search. That's not going to help me.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out.
I'll find it.
Yeah, it's
Advisory
Visory.
Sweetnet. Okay.
But anyway,
And what
so
does
we
that
all
do?
there's a hosting. It's like any kind of other hosting.
Oh, like networks or
Yep.
okay.
Brightworks or anything like that. But what I like about it, well, actually, what I love about it is that it also handles all of your cybersecurity. training. So they do all the cybersecurity training, make sure you have a WISP, all of that. It does end device protection. So my MacBook, when I travel, that's what comes with me. That's protected as well from cybercrime. So I'm very paranoid about that because
too.
you're out of business, man. So they handle all of that for me. And they
And so your Lacert is hosted on that?
Yeah. Yep. And tax help software, which I use for resolution. So any of those desktop-y platforms. But I'll go into the environment, and I still, open up my Chrome and all that other stuff, but I can do that securely on my regular computer because this computer is also protected, right? So I'm not worried about going on QBO on my local machine because I have them monitoring my local machine.
Right.
All of that happens with them. It's awesome.
And people don't, I know they don't want to spend the money, some accountants. I mean, spend the money.
People will say that to me all the time. They're like, Brolin, I see your tech stack must be really expensive. I go, I don't worry about that. We do about $40,000 a month in revenue from our subscriptions.
Right.
So our payroll and our technology is all covered in subscription pricing. So any tax returns we do, it's extra money.
Right. Right.
So I
mean,
don't
the
really have to
subscription
do that.
model is just amazing, Now a lot of people do this. What's your opinion on this? Well, before I give them a flat rate subscription price, I have to work to see how many hours it takes me to do it.
No. I did that for a long time. I was an idiot. Let me put it to you that way. So let's just call myself an idiot and then we'll go from there. But honestly, I used to think that way. And now I'm like, I can look at a set of books. I can look at how many accounts there are. I can look at the tax return, see how complicated it is. Like, what do they do? They have inventory now. I don't deal with a lot of people with inventory on purpose. So I'll look at it and I'll go, and then if we're going to do the books, which we don't really take on any more bookkeeping, we'd rather refer that out. But I'll have Nicole look at the books. What do you think? And she'll give an idea. And I'm like, all right, we're going to do $1,500 a month for this person. We go a year. After the year, and I tell this to my tax partner, we're going to win some, we're going to lose some. After a year, then we always revisit the pricing and go, we had this one client, she was paying $2,500 a month, and she had this is the one with the 5 entities that's on desktop. And we did all of the entities for $2,500 a month. And so we were at 30 grand instead of 40 grand in subscription pricing. We looked at the end of the year and we're like, let's separate the entities. So we separated the entities. Those that don't require a lot of work, we'll do an annual book. We charge them annually for the bookkeeping just as a fee. And we charge them for the tax returns. The other ones, we turned one of them into $4,500 a month, the other one 35. So it went to 8 grand. So yeah, for 1 year, we kind of, we missed the mark on the pricing.
Yeah.
And then we revisit it.
Now, what did your bookkeeping include? What tasks does that include? Bill pay, AR, just classifying transactions?
Just doing the regular bookkeeping, all that stuff. So
do you do bill pay, or do they do that themselves?
Oh, we don't do any bill pay for any clients.
No AR?
No AR. Nope.
And that's for your 2,500. Oh, I love you. I mean,
yeah. Yep. And it's you know what? And then we'll do some stuff like connect them with an attorney for a buy-sell agreement if they're a partnership. We help monitor the things that they're not monitoring. We're not necessarily doing that work, but we're monitoring it for them and saying, hey, you need a buy-sell agreement, right? That kind of stuff. But we just have found that I've learned so much more about clients. We require a reasonable comp analysis for people. And we learn a lot through that process about the client, about what they actually do. Even with clients I've had for 15 years. I'm like, so tell me about the different things you do. I'd never asked them before because who the heck had time? And I didn't care because they weren't paying me for that.
Right.
Now they're paying me for it. So now I'm really getting to know them.
Do you do a reasonable comp analysis every year? Or do you every year you do it?
It's required every year because things change. So the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, or whatever that thing's called, those statistics change every year. And obviously economy with inflation or different things like that, it's constantly changing. Those numbers are changing. So they have to be done every year, required by the IRS every year.
And that you use RCR reports for that,
RCR
correct?
report.
Yeah,
and every bookkeeper who's listening to the show, don't make assumptions that the CPA is doing it. So you could save the day for those CPAs. And what you do is, first of all, if you're a bookkeeper, this is like one of my big things, you should know who the CPA is, and you should be at least talking to him once a year. At least call him up once a year. And if you have somebody that is a CPA that's doing maybe 4 or 5 of your clients, and there's some S corps in there, call them up. Hey, are you doing reasonable comp? Nope, don't care about it. We just guess. Then you know what you do? You say, you know what? I'm going to do that for you because I'm going to make sure you don't get fined $5,000 for not doing one. I got your back. And that CPA may send you more of their S corps because they know you're going to have their back and do the reasonable comp. It's an easy way to market and make more money.
Don't you think that bookkeepers, though, are intimidated by the tax preparer, that they're smarter, better, know more?
They got to get over that.
I know.
Got to get over it. If Donna calls me and says, Brolin, I'm sending you a couple of their S corps. I'm going to do the reasonable comp. You don't have to worry about it. I'm like, yeah, perfect.
Now, that's a subscription too. You pay.
Oh yeah.
It's not expensive.
No, it's under $1,000.
Under $1,000 for the whole year.
The whole year, you should be doing 1,000 easily, minimum 1,000.
Right.
Some of my S corps, I charge 2,500, and I get it.
To do a reasonable comp, you charge them 2,500 for one reasonable compensation analysis. It's critical because I tell clients all the time, on the tax return, there is a line. Officers' compensation. I said, you think meals and entertainment's a red flag area? That's a big one.
That's huge.
That's huge. So it'll spit it out because it's zero.
Yep.
Well, can't you just put any old number in? No.
No, you can't. I had an audit last spring, was an audit for his 3rd time. Had 0 on line 7 on his S corp tax return, years and years, and it's his 3rd time he's been audited for it. So I made him go on payroll. I'm like, all right, let's put you on right now. Oh, so okay, I'm not intimidated by CPAs, but I find that they now do bookkeeping. So how do you collaborate with them? Some of them are doing so, like we do bookkeeping, but that's not. We don't want more bookkeeping business. So some of them may be maxed out, so they've got already all the bookkeeping that they need. If they are doing bookkeeping and they are taking on bookkeeping clients, then that's probably not a CPA you want to communicate with, because that person's going to take your clients, possibly, which is insane. That's the thing about us, where we will not, if somebody wants to come to us for full bookkeeping and tax, that because they're specifically looking for someone to do the bookkeeping and tax. It's not very often that we get that, but sometimes we do. I do find sometimes that there are people who are like, I want it all in one house.
Right.
And I understand that, right? But I would have a conversation with the bookkeeper first and be like, listen, they're looking for CPA and bookkeeping at the same time. It's your client. I will not offer that to them. And I communicate with the bookkeeper. So the bookkeeper has a heads up. Hey, this person might be looking to go somewhere else because of this. I make sure that bookkeeper who's referring people to me know that.
Right.
Because that's just, you gotta be ethical, man.
I know.
You want to have a reputation of being that person, stealing clients? No.
I know. I had a client that I had for like 4 years, and their CPA said, we can do the bookkeeping for less. I said, really? You're leaving for money? I mean, okay, goodbye. Now, in my opinion, everybody needs an accountant, a bookkeeper, and a tax.
Yes.
So there's plenty of, I look at the number of banks on the street corners, the number of Starbucks. I mean, they're not limiting Starbucks.
Places themselves next to Burger King.
Yeah. I mean, so there's plenty of business out there. So if you're working with a CPA that's a little, a jerk, go find another one to work with. Or I like working with the tax accountants, the tax preparers. It is tough, though, when you get a tax preparer who does not know QuickBooks.
Honestly, well, it's funny you say that, because I just picked up a nice big non-filer a case I'm doing with Eric Green. So I was at his office last week, and Eric's like, all right, I'm not even part of this conversation at this point. You guys we got to recreate books here or do whatever. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, all right. So he's like, I'm on QuickBooks Online. I'm like, awesome. Invite me to your QuickBooks. So he invites me, and then I go in and I add him and whatever, do my thing. And he's like, I can't believe you know how to do this. The last CPA I had no idea and didn't even know how to go into QuickBooks Online. And I was like, dude, I can do it all. I can do it all. I don't like doing bookkeeping anymore. And it's not because it's beneath me. I'm not good at it. My like I'm really good at concentrating on a tax return, but I'm just not good at, like a squirrel runs by. I'm working on the checkbook, reconciling the checkbook, and then I'm like, oh look, credit card payment. Let me go over there to the credit card. Like I can't pay attention long enough,
We got to teach you about rules.
right?
All right,
No.
guys. This is a great conversation.
We
We've
gotta
gone
have
a bit
Dawn back.
over.
Oh,
We're going to have
no.
you back,
Yeah, we
Dawn,
went
for
10 minutes over,
sure.
Dawn. We thank you.
Yeah.
Teresa, that's awesome. You should see me eye roll when a CPA calls me up wanting my fax number so you can send me AJs that are handwritten on a colander pad.
Oh, that
I love
happens.
that.
I'm going
Oh
to do
my
an IRS
gosh.
audit right now, and they want faxed reports.
Yep.
Poof. Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
All right, I know we went over. Sorry, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, this was fabulous.
Sure.
This
That
was
was
I'll come back
great.
anytime.
Fabulous.
You tell me.
all right.
Welcome back.
Next week.
Anytime. Next week. Do it.
I'll send you a list of all our open
All our
times.
open dates.
Perfect.
You'll be our backup.
I love it. I got your back. Always.
You'll be our practice protect.
All right.
Exactly.
All
love it.
right. Well, thank you so much. And everyone out there, this is going to be up. And so recommend it to your friends. Subscribe,
share,
and
and support. Yep.
share. So, and we will see you next week for, I don't know who's up next week because I'm just not that organized yet. But somebody will be up and we'll be announcing it.
Great.
That's
Well, thanks
awesome.
again,
All
Dawn.
right.
You bet.
All right.
Always,
Thank you
guys.
so much, Dawn.
Thank
We
you, everybody.
appreciate it.
Take
All right.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Donna, it's your turn.
My computer locked up, so it's
Uh-oh.
going crazy.
All right, keep
So you guys
talking,
are
Dawn.
still watching this as my computer locks up.
You can keep talking.
Oh my gosh. So just keep talking. This is
I
what
usually
happens.
screenshot people when they're frozen.
Yeah.
You're never frozen pretty.
So hang on a minute. I'm going to lose everybody. I
Oh,
can't.
man.
Oh my gosh. So this will be fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Just roll with it.
Yep.
I got to go subscribe to your thing here.
Yeah, you're not
Oh
subscribed.
my gosh.
How do I do it?
You have to go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and notify, so you'll get
Oh, YouTube,
emails and
okay.
notifications that we're going up. And don't forget the podcast. We're also on Spotify and Apple. We do a
Are you on
podcast.
Earmark yet?
I don't know.
You
Get
gotta
us on
Earmark.
Earmark. You know everybody.
David.
Yeah, you went off. Donna went offline, but we can still talk.
We can keep going.
You can keep going, man. We'll go all day.
Donna's gonna be like, "What happened?"
What happened?
You
Donna,
two crazy.
Poor Donna. She has so much she's having to worry about with everything.
Yeah.
But this was great. I mean, I just love. In fact, I still wear the ring you gave me.
That's right, buddy.
That's right.
I love that.
Dawn gave me a ring that says "I am enough." So anytime I feel I'm not, I just remember Dawn gave me this, and I wear it as a. Actually, I feel like we're married because I wear it
We're
on
married.
the wedding
It's
ring.
fine. Cal won't care. Kevin won't
I
care.
don't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't
Live
care.
TV, that's what we're doing, Teresa, right now. This is live.
This is live, man. This is
Yep.
live. Oh, I see something shaking. She coming back on?
She's probably going to throw her computer out the window, I think.
Right. Well, I don't know how to get off now because she's in control.
All right. Well,
we should just close
what
out
else
and
do you want to talk
close
about?
the browser window, and that'll be it.
So I love that you guys do this. So because
it's fun.
You're two of the perfect people to do it together.
We have a good time, and the people have been real supportive, and we really appreciate everybody that logs in and listens, and hopefully we make an impact. So
You do. I know you do. I mean, Bookkeepers on Fire. Perfect.
I know, isn't it good?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I love the fire in the beginning. You guys are killing it.
So anyway, let's just close your browser window. So everybody watching, thank you again. And is she coming back on? Offline. She's offline.
Nope.
Oh, well. Well, Donna, we love you.
Yep, we do.
And I know you have to get to your next appointment, so we want to keep this rolling. But I'm just going to close out my browser window. So, Dawn, if you stay, you're going to keep talking to everybody by yourself.
I'll go. They don't
See you
listen
later,
enough.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.